Hey there everybody, Cullen here. You might remember me as the well-documented adult attraction expert. This video might contain what some people would consider early game spoilers. I personally don't think anything here will ruin your experience, but you know how the internet goes. The focus of this video also has almost nothing to do with the story or quality of the game itself. I already made a video talking about the whole game ad nauseum earlier this year, so I've said my piece. For now. If you're a newcomer, I recommend watching that video first. Look, I enjoy this new thematic analysis kick I'm currently on, but I'm not above playing frame rate archaeologist with my wannabe Digital Foundry excavation kit. Welcome to my channel, we have terrible metaphors. But before we get into the video proper, let's have a word from our sponsor.
Integrity.
Thanks voiceover gameplay, Cullen. Unkempt live-action Cullen will take over. On June 24th, 2021, NIS America announced that Trails from Zero and Trails to Azure, and I think like 2 other games, I don't know, were being officially localized. And shortly after, it was announced that the fan localization group, the GeoFront, was working with NIS America to bring these games out officially. There was a deal, it involved money. What does this have to do with this video? Well, for those of you who don't know, I worked with the GeoFront to make the English opening for Trails from Zero. I didn't work on Azure, I was too busy at the time, but what I'm basically saying is, I was a part of the deal. The reason this disclaimer exists is to be completely transparent about all of this. Yes, they sent me Ys 9 Monstrum Nox for the Nintendo Switch to review, and yes, in an unrelated instance, they did pay me money. Some of you might think that because of this, I am unable to be impartial about reviewing this game. And if you actually think that, I totally understand. So if you think I am unable to provide a fair assessment of this game or any other games I cover from them, then you can disregard all of my opinions. This isn't really even a review, it's more of like an impressions piece, but if you watch the rest of it, you should be able to see that, yeah, I'm not going to let that deal affect any of my opinions. And yeah, enjoy the rest of the video. Take it away, voiceover gameplay Cullen. Again. Okay, so that's done. How about that Ys 9 Monstrum Nox, huh? One of my favorite games, and I personally believe it is the best one Falcom has ever put out. The only thing I love just as much as Ys 9 is playing games in the warm embrace of Nintendo's latest handheld darling. Now, you may take both my well-established adoration for this game and that disclaimer as a sign I went in with my fanboy revolver loaded with excuse bullets. But that's far from the case. If anything, my love for this game and its predecessor only raised my expectations higher, within reasonable limits of course. Look, I understand this game was ambitious for Falcom and even struggled to run on the PS4, the console it was developed for. I also know that by porting it to Switch they had to cut the target frame rate in half. And that's okay. It'd be unfair for me to compare this directly to my only other experience playing Ys 9, which was on the PS5. I mean, that has an update now that can make it run at 4K. Outside of the PC version, that's probably the best way to play it if you care about performance over portability. Believe me, I know what I was getting into. I play a lot of Switch ports. And don't kill me for this, but I think 30 FPS is a totally adequate trade-off for being able to play a quality action game in your bed, on your living room couch, train, a forest, or in the sewer. All I wanted from this port was a decent resolution and a frame rate that hits its target more often than not. So, did Engine Software, the company that ported this, succeed in that endeavor? Well, about that. Let's start with the positives first, shall we? Yes, I already know what the burning question is on all your minds, but we'll get to that later. Why? Because I enjoy toying with my audience. As a treat. I think the porting team did a pretty good job maintaining the look of Ys 9. The resolution is pretty decent, not as good as you'd get from any other platforms, but I was pleasantly surprised. Cutscenes in particular look great. The resolution during gameplay segments isn't outstanding, but it was good enough for me. I was also blown away by the file size. For comparison, my Switch version of Ys 8 after cosmetic DLC is about 14.7 gigs. and Ys 9 is only 3.1. The game is still pretty big and packed with content, and I didn't notice any significant dip in audio quality or anything. So this is entirely due to optimization. Gold star. Loading times also aren't too bad either. I'm sure it's way better on PS4 and PC and PS5, but I found them acceptable. Unfortunately, I cannot record footage of my PS5 at the moment to make any comparison because I am in a temporary living situation, so just take my word on that. Silver star. One of the more important things worth mentioning is that this is still Ys 9. I haven't played this in half a year, so maybe there are huge differences I may have missed. Keep any, actually, to yourself, please. But at its core, it's still as engaging to play as it was before. The main gameplay loop and how it feeds into the story's themes is still peak Falcom. Exploring Balduke is also a ton of fun. Unless... But hey, that's getting ahead of ourselves. Not too far ahead, but just a little bit. Because I have 99% of the game on PS5 and only had a few days to play the Switch port at the time of this recording, I played about 9 hours to get my impressions of it. That's roughly up to the end of Chapter 4. And yeah, I don't really have anything new to say about Ys 9 that I haven't already said in my big video on it, except, and this one is pretty big, gamers, I have found Sue. Enjoy eating your butterflies, kiddo. Anyway, time to get into what you all really care about. The textures aren't as nice. The graffiti, hard to read sometimes. 0 out of 10. Okay, for real, let's get to the meat of the video. The frame rate's kind of a hot mess right now. Right now is important, let's put a pin in that. I played up to the end of Chapter 2 purely docked, Chapter 3 purely undocked, and Chapter 4 a puree of both. Docked footage was a lot easier to capture for obvious reasons, but I recorded my undocked playthrough in little bursts with the system's own recording software. Not the most accurate, and it's worth mentioning that those captures naturally look worse off the Switch screen and blown up on a big display, but that's the limit of what I can do to show you the difference at all. I'll also be labeling where the footage comes from that you see at any moment for proper comparison. Docked performance in any area outside of the main city is solid. Undocked performance in any of those areas is inconsistent, but mostly hits 30 FPS, and performance across the board in Balduke is just not good. How about a red star for the big moon? There was no consistent frame rate in the city, and without any proper tools to count it, all I can really say is that the game, could often look like a GIF. Performance is slightly more stable docked, but only slightly. Yes, I got used to it. No, that does not necessarily make it good. When the game does manage to hit 30 FPS, it feels fine. But anytime it dips, it just, look, pick your own metaphor for not good and then just kind of pretend I said that. Later raids tank the FPS due to how hectic they get, making battles here just not fun. Some would argue that Ys raids are never fun, but yeah, that's right. I caught you typing that comment. Don't try to delete it. You finish what you started and post that, coward. Fighting monsters in the city is when things are the worst. It's almost unplayable. After hours of dealing with Balduke's choppy performance, I was surprised to reach the first open field and actually see the game hit a mostly consistent 30 FPS. When playing docked, I couldn't notice any serious dips. It was so jarring that it actually felt like 60 FPS in comparison. It was so good, and I really wish the whole game could play this smoothly. I went back to Ys 8 on Switch to compare the two ports, and even though the resolution wasn't as nice, Ys 8 managed to hit a more consistent 30 FPS experience. I know that was a smaller scaled game, but for a port based on Durante's code from the PC version, I expected more from Ys 9 on Switch. There is, however, a rather big caveat that exists to complicate things. I've been informed that patches will be available at launch and perhaps after to address stability issues. Ys 8's Switch port also wasn't that great until all of its patches dropped, so this fact alone has me hesitant to write off Ys 9's port completely. I can only base this video off of my own experiences, and my fifth eye remains sealed as a nerf from the great powers that be, so I'm unable to see the future. It is totally possible that this entire video will be outdated by the time the game comes out tomorrow. Maybe the first patch will entirely fix the performance. Maybe it'll take a few patches. Maybe it'll never be fixed at all. I don't know. The star could be any variety of color, and this bit is no longer funny. I don't want any version of one of my favorite games to be bad. I also totally understand just how difficult it must have been to port a game that struggled to run on the PS4 onto a system with much less power. It's commendable that it even runs at all, but in the state I played it in, I'm just not satisfied with it at the moment. I think there very well could be a good port of Ys 9 hidden under the issues I stumbled across, but it's gonna need some more optimization before it can be dug out. If this video becomes outdated immediately, then at the very least it'll be a great time capsule to show off how much the port improved over time. I'm disappointed with it at the moment, but I'll be keeping my eyes peeled for updates and will totally finish the entire game again on Switch if they fix the performance issues. If that does in fact happen, would I recommend this version? I don't know, dude. You're an adult. Probably. I trust you'll spend your money responsibly. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. As always, big thank you to Supreme Zerker for helping me edit the script, and a super big extra ultra thank you to our wonderful backers on Patreon. All of the people scrolling by on the screen right now are amazing, but a couple people in particular deserve extra thanks. If you'd like to be on the list of names or be part of the vocal shoutout, maybe check out the Patreon. Our Royal Metal Slimes for this month are Alex Austin, Courtney Littleton, Daniel Jennings, Enoravan, Furion's Nipples, Happy Emmums, Horncurling, I Frozenace, Jacob Faulkner, Jeremy DeForest, Moonwatcher, Pinhead, Nathan, Roxora, Sam G, Sly Gamer, Wayne Larkin, and your friend Chuck. Anyway, that will be it from me. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.